was that? Did you hear something?
All these unresting spirits. We're trespassing on their turf. But there's naught ye can do about it!
Lackadaisy is one of those pilots I did not expect to ever be made when I first heard about it. The style of animation seemed too fluent and complex to ever be produced by an indie production, but sure enough, they got their funding and actually managed to release a pilot. Currently, it has over 15 million views, and I'm not surprised it got this many. The animation and direction of this pilot are way above standard and would easily rival industry professionals. You won't hear me complain about the shot composition, the use of lighting, the art style, and even the character designs. Tracy Butler is an outstanding artist, and I'm not surprised the show looks as beautiful and detailed as it does. But you should know me well enough by now to know that good art, animation, and spectacle don't distract me from looking at the other aspects of the story, like the writing. Unfortunately, Lackadaisy falls into the same pitfalls that many other indie cartoons do when it comes down to that part. It doesn't help that Lackadaisy was originally a furry comic either. Those tend to sacrifice their storytelling to show off how cool or quirky their original characters are. They're filled with bad or lol so random humor that overstays its welcome, and an overabundance of dark and or tragic backstories that many people would just call edgy. Now, I only gave the webcomic a cursory glance, so I can't speak to whether that's the case, but if the pilot is anything to go by, I'll say it's a relatively safe bet.
There's more where that came from.
Luckily, the scope of the pilot's writing was kept small, as the episode centers around our three main characters, Rocky, Freckle, and Miss Pepper, as they try to steal a stash of alcohol from a rivaling gang. With a familiar 1920s Prohibition-era setting and a small-scale mission, the writing will have to focus heavily on the characters and their dynamics to keep the audience engaged. Does Lackadaisy pull it off? Let's have a look. Actually, let me set up the furryometer, so anytime one of these things happen, we'll just fill up the bar. We start with Rocky reciting a poem while playing his violin on top of a bridge. While this scene is used to establish the setting and offer a lot of beautiful animation, it could have been cut in half. It goes way too long to establish way too little.
Oh, roiling red blood river vein. If chief among your traits is age, brings us brassy, myth-made kings. Oh, Demiurge to a try at Avalon must have had to oversee alchemic change of timber beam, brick, and engine steam.
Get on with it!
Mississippi.
Now, it could have been forgiven if the poem actually had some relevance to the overarching narrative, but I'm not entirely sure if it does. I'm not much for interpreting poems, so I can't quite understand why Rocky is reminiscing over this river so much. He challenges the name Old Man River and presents reasons why the name doesn't fit the lively, energetic, and powerful entity. Despite acknowledging the river's age and wisdom, Rocky chooses to highlight its wild and untamed nature even after existing for this long. One can interpret that he's projecting himself onto the river, choosing to see its more roguish side. The poem might be also revealing Rocky's value system, or perhaps some of his fears of falling into complacency and becoming Old Man River instead of Mississippi. But I could just be making all of this up, and it's just some fancy worded musings of the author. What I want to know is whether Rocky created this poem or picked it up from somewhere else. Yeah, you can make your characters use fancy words from Old English and reference mythology, but remember, he had to learn these words and myths somewhere. He's not just randomly referencing the myths, he had to learn it and understand it and then apply it into the poem, which requires quite a bit of intelligence to do. And no 1920s Joe Schmo would use words like mirth, aorta, umber, wilt, frivolity, and continence. If Rocky learned it from someone else, it's fine. But if he actually created it, then he has to have some kind of literary knowledge or even a college-level education. He wouldn't just be some farm boy from an uneducated family. It's not a problem, yet, as long as the creators establish where Rocky picked up his scholarly knowledge in later episodes. Though, based on Rocky's idiocy and the fact that he can barely read a long name,
Herman Hapfem?
I suspect the poem was just the author indulging in some poetry and letting the OC hog more of the spotlight than he has to.
It's abundantly clear you forgot us down here.
Oh yeah, those two are the other two protagonists, the timid Freckle and the snarky Ivy Pepper. Anyway, back to Rocky's antics.
Encore? No encore?
Please, no, that's plenty.
We're fine.
Should I add a dance? Extra stanzas? There's more where that came from. Up! I provide the ambiance. Babyface provides the muscle.
Now, you may be thinking that this dialogue is just there to give exposition, but it's not even doing that. We don't know who they are or why they're there or how dangerous or easy the job is, so there isn't much tension or intrigue. Even the exposition we do get is inaccurate.
I was cursed with these spaghetti arms!
Rocky claims he has spaghetti arms, but then he carries the coffin with one hand, while Freckle, the supposed muscle, has to use both. I'll assume Rocky's being facetious, but if you're going to use expository dialogue, you might as well make it accurate. Otherwise, it makes me question other information that Rocky gives. Like, are they really cousins, or is Rocky just using that phrase as a term of endearment?
Settle down, cousin.
Honestly, the whole cousin thing is clunky. It feels weird when Freckles says,
I wish my mom was here.
and Rocky has that kind of reaction to someone else's mom. That's why they needed Rocky to call him cousin, to clarify their familial bond. Was there a reason why they couldn't have been brothers instead of cousins? So Freckle could have said, I wish mom was here instead, which would then clearly define their familial relationship and prompt us to wonder about their family dynamic and why they might have opposing views. While cousins can work, it doesn't have the same impact because you're adding a layer of separation that offers way too many variables. At least we know that Miss Pepper isn't a relative.
Showing off your shoveling skills for Hotsy-Totsy over here.
How old is this girl anyway? She sounds like she's 12.
I'm not sure lookouts are supposed to make such a ruckus anyway. I always come so close to busting Phineas and Ferb, but it ends up the same way every single time.
And yes, technically she's 18. While I don't think we needed Rocky to point out the subtle chemistry between Freckle and Ivy, it does add some context to Freckle's behavior and does make you pay attention to it. Okay, who put their profile pic on the gravestone? Wait, why would they not bring their crowbars with them to see if they got the right coffin? Imagine they drag this coffin all the way to the car and then open it there, only to find the corpse. Would they bring it back or just leave it there? You can see Freckle cross himself, assuming they got it wrong, so it's clear they didn't confirm whether the booze was there or not. Now, we're kind of establishing these three are incompetent at their job, so if this gig is, say, really important, perhaps the first gig their boss found in a long time, why would they hire these three to do it, especially Rocky?
But there's naught ye can do about it, ye feisty devils!
For context, I ran some numbers and the total value of the stash would be around $20,000 in today's money. That's also the equivalent of one of those cars. So the value of both the car and the alcohol would be around 40 to 50 grand. You know, just an interesting fact, don't worry about it. Speaking of cars, I was going to ask how the other car managed to sneak up on them, but the fact that you can see the subtle details of the car already being there in a few different shots kind of makes up for it. One could even assume that the car driving under the bridge could be the same one driving to the cemetery. Sure, it's still unlikely that a 1920s automobile would have stealth mode. I think the looming presence of the car does make up for it. The way they revealed the antagonist wasn't bad. It offers a bit of subversion with the flashlight gag.
I can't see.
Ah, there it is. Stop it, you!
Get off me, Rocky!
And quickly shifts the tone and pace of the narrative. If you wanted a bit more tension, you could have had the car slowly approach with the headlights off, and maybe the sound of the door opening alerts them enough to stop bickering. Miss Pepper would turn the flashlight around to reveal Seraphine already aiming a gun at them. Again, two different approaches, but the latter would make the antagonist appear a bit more competent, as I doubt they would turn the headlights on without being out of the car first. It would just give their enemies too much time to flee or to shoot back. Also, before we continue, can I ask what exactly the goal of the bad guys is here?
Can't let the competition go unchecked.
Yeah, I get it. They're trying to get rid of the competition, but what about the alcohol? They need to protect the booze from being stolen, right? So would it not have been more effective for them to use the guns to threaten the main crew, make them step away from the car, and then execute them? Or just leave them without the booze and the car? I'd say that'd be a pretty successful little score with minimum damage. But that's what competent mobsters would do. It would have also given us a bit more tension and time to establish the rivalry between the two crews. You know, something to add a bit more context to the chase. But no, we go straight into the action without any setup. We also get our obligatory violent, cackling psycho who doesn't take danger seriously. Actually, let me just add another counter right here, don't worry about it. Seriously, why are you even trying? You couldn't shoot him from a few feet away, let alone this distance. Maybe if you weren't cackling, you'd had better aim. One could infer that she's scaring them to make the chase more fun, but you know, they still have the booze, right? Are you really just there to kill the competition regardless of the damage it may do to the thing you're trying to protect? I guess that works. I don't know, it would have been nice to add some more stakes for both sides and give the chase a bit more meaning and creativity. You know, they're risking their lives for this alcohol, so... you know.
This is a trifling matter. We have other business to tend to.
Yeah, I could see how this should have been a trifling matter. All you had to do was protect the booze, shoot the intruders, but your crewmate decided to do a thing.
Where'd you learn to drive like that?
I didn't!
Oof, that line is not right. She knows how to drive since I assume she's the getaway driver in this crew. I mean, if she wasn't, why is she even there? And we don't see any of the other characters drive, so she must be the driver. All the writers had to do was replace "where did you learn to drive" with "who taught you how to drive," to which she would have responded with "no one." That would have offered us a clear indication that she knows how to drive, she just didn't have any formal training. The original line implies that she doesn't know how to drive at all, which she clearly does. A nitpick maybe, but I just wanted to explain why it's important to pay attention to the dialogue.
I guess this one is the bait.
What do you mean he's the bait? Bait for who? You? Just shoot him. Why are you not shooting him when he's exposed? All the writers had to do was have Seraphine say, "I'm reloading, give me a moment." Or just show her reloading to explain why they weren't shooting at Rocky at that moment. I knew this counter would come in handy. Seriously, why are they laughing so much? Did Cat Joker finally succeed in poisoning the town's water supply? Is that why they need the alcohol? Water in this world is just so toxic that booze is actually the healthier option?
No! Don't be modest! Play us a symphony.
Okay, so both Rocky and Freckle are crazy. Which leads me to ask, what happened in this family that raised two psychos? Again, it would have been better if they were brothers, but that one level separation complicates the odds of both of them being crazy. Then again, in this world, maybe it's not that unlikely.
Profoundly unprofessional.
This guy's me right now, but I can't let him off the hook either. Mordecai falls into the category of looks cool and important, but is actually incompetent. Did Mordecai hire these two? Did he choose to be in this crew, or was he forced to? What's the hierarchy? Is he their boss, their supervisor, their equal partner? What is he there to do? If he's there to supervise the mission, he fails. If he's there to kill the main crew, he fails. If he's there to secure the booze, he fails. Typically, if you want your villain to appear like a threat, you have to give him some wins. Mordecai doesn't have nearly enough wins to justify how cool the show's trying to make him appear to be. I expected him to be a lot harder on Seraphine and Nico for not being careful with the product or making too much of a scene. But again, all bark, no bite. He could have been the cold and pragmatic leader who gets the job done, which would contrast Nico's and Sarah's more playful attitude better. As it is right now, he's far too passive. He tends to react more than act, which undermines him as a threat.
I think I swallowed a bug.
You got a big fat bad bad for dinner? Who's fair?
Nah, just more glass.
Also, this scene could have been completely cut out, though if the writers wanted to establish that personal relationship between Mordecai and the Lackadaisy crew,
You stop spectating and throw in, Chef.
Or do we have to worry about you getting sentimental about old times?
they could have put that conversation at the start, before Seraphine steps out of the car. Mordecai and his crew could have observed the two cousins bicker while they discuss Mordecai's personal connection. Unconvinced, Seraphine steps out of the car first. Now, if he was really pragmatic, Mordecai could have stepped out, popped Miss Pepper in the head so Rocky and Freckle couldn't drive off, and then have the other two finish the job. Targets eliminated, boost secure, free car. Of course, we later find out why he doesn't do it.
Turn here, make a left!
What? What turn?
Louis! Left hook! Sinister! Mort!
There's no left here!
The shot composition here is really good. The creators are making great use of the frame, showing off the protagonist and antagonist, and the relationship between them, while also building tension. You know exactly where Mordecai is aiming, and you know what's making Rocky panic so much. All good there, no complaints. Ugh, another psycho cackling scene. Lackadaisy, more like no lack of crazy. Look, I know you want to add some Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde elements in your characters.
Sorry. I didn't mean to. It's just that there's a fire. A burning hot fire.
But if most of these villains are cackling psychos, it's not special. I have to question the overall sanity level of this world, at least the criminal world. Oh my god, this scene is so unnecessary. We get it, Rocky's unhinged, just like 70% of these characters. Why would he turn on the lights and not someone from Mordecai's crew? All you needed was Nico switching on the lights and cut to Rocky finding the explosives. That entire crazy walk was just indulgent.
I'll take care of that. Disable the vehicle.
Honestly, the gunfight between Freckle and Mordecai is tense and compelling. This brief, quiet moment between the two of them felt like I was watching a different show, a better show. Too bad it was interrupted by this guy again.
Sudden circus comes to town! The behemoth and the top hat clown!
Rocky's so annoying. Look at me, I'm Mr. Rocky, look at me.
What's happening?
Rocky.
The shot is so appropriate, as the brief moment between Freckle and Miss Pepper is steamrolled by Rocky's stage-hogging performance. At this point, I realize something. Rocky shouldn't have been the protagonist. He doesn't contribute anything to the story besides cathartic, self-indulgent spectacle. The main focus should have been on Freckle, a good-hearted and timid protagonist who sees his found family struggle and agrees to do a simple job for them. He meets Miss Pepper, the love interest, and Rocky, the experienced and more chill mobster who guides Freckle through the operation.
No!
Yes, yes, yes!
No!
Don't be modest!
When things turn south, Rocky gets shot by Mordecai, leaving Freckle to take charge and protect Miss Pepper.
No!
5, 6.
He gets shot in the head and presumed dead, but when he hears Miss Pepper scream, his crazy mode activates and he goes on a rampage. Big explosion happens, Freckle comes back to his senses, and they all escape with the booze. And even though they succeeded this time, now they have Mordecai on their tail, preventing Freckle from leaving the gangster lifestyle. And if he can't leave it, he has to embrace it. Kind of like the madness within. Bing bang boom, a simple premise with an arc. But Trent, that's not the story Lackadaisy wants to tell. Okay, yeah, maybe not, but what story is the pilot trying to tell? Does Rocky go through some kind of arc? Do any of the characters? What internal challenges does Rocky have to overcome? From what I saw, all the challenges seem to be external. The only one I could cling to was Freckle's reluctance and the fear of losing Pepper, and Mordecai's reluctance to shoot her. Oh, and if we focused on Mordecai and Freckle, Miss Pepper could have been used as a link for their rivalry. Freckle's madness could also have been juxtaposed with Mordecai's stringent character, creating a sort of reverse Batman and Joker dichotomy. Speaking of Jokers, Rocky is not a character, he's an idea.
I'm an idea.
You can tell the creator just wants this OC to be the star of the show, regardless of how much it may hinder it. Rocky is essentially the Poochie of Lackadaisy.
Poochie is one outrageous dude. He's totally in my face.
Wiggity, word up!
He also reminds me of the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. While we all love Jack Sparrow, the main character in that movie is Will Turner. Jack is essentially the comic side character, which is what I think Rocky should have been. Anyway, they all failed their mission and run away. Oh wait, no, never mind. We still got a third of the episode left to go, and boy does it drag.
However unbecoming, Atlas. That's my cue. Meet you downstairs.
Okay, I never saw Psycho talking to herself. What's in this town's water?
It beats radiator fluid.
Oh no, don't drink radiator fluid. No wonder people are crazy here. At least the pilot is consistent about Mitzi's failure as a club owner and a mob boss. No wonder she assigned these three for the job.
Victor, I know it's an adjustment, but the bartender's got to look like someone the patronage can tell their troubles to.
Imagine putting the scariest, strongest crew member as the bartender. The guy could literally dig and carry the coffin by himself. Heck, Mitzi, swap Victor for Rocky. Rocky's always smiling and wants to entertain others, while Victor seems to be experienced and qualified for the gig. In fact, the crew should have been Freckle, Miss Pepper, and Victor. Freckle should have been the lookout on the bridge, questioning whether he should be there at all. Victor finishes digging and calls him down. The story would progress as it did, but Victor gets shot, protecting Freckle and Miss Pepper. Freckle goes crazy and they escape. Sorry, Anyway, I don't even know what to say about this scene. The character development is super basic, with each character giving a brief view of their role and their personality.
I'm supposed to be a pillar of the community, baron of industry, upstanding citizen, you know?
Shouldn't you be up on stage playing?
For who?
And because everyone is in such a dour mood, and this creepy music is playing all the time, it's just unpleasant to watch. And because the crew failed their mission, there's nothing to be joyous about.
Is this all we got for our money, honey?
Oh well, I guess it's back to the radiator fluid.
Honey, but we can't keep running ourselves ragged and into the red to bring Omega.
Oh, come on, Rocky, don't act upset now. You've been nothing but a huge liability who put his friend and cousin in mortal danger, and you were laughing the whole way. Don't pretend like you suddenly feel bad. Luckily, he doesn't, as they all go off to dance and Mitzi gets a ray of hope that things will be all right. For some reason. Would have made a lot more sense if they were successful. Maybe you could have had... No more. But if you had Freckle as the lead and they succeeded, you could have had him drag a chest full of booze while Miss Pepper helps the shot crewmate. Whether it's Rocky or Victor, the crewmate says he's fine and praises Freckle for a job well done. The club's spirits are lifted at the first successful job in a while, and perhaps Mitzi sees a bit of her late husband in Freckle, someone who is a gangster not because they want power or wealth, but because he wants to protect people he cares about. It just writes itself. And sure, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it would be more satisfying than what we got now.
On the whole, the evening has not gone according to plan.
The pilot of Lackadaisy seems to be held up by spectacle alone. The art style, animation, and the use of visual language are all there and being used competently. In this field, it outshines any of the indie animations I have covered so far, and I suspect it may not be overthrown anytime soon. I'm not at all surprised it's been compared to classic Disney. A+ on that front, all good. But here's the problem. The creators have the talent to tell a story, but they don't have a story to tell. Mobster Cats in the 1920s is a concept, not a story. Wacky Hijinks is spectacle, not a story. Yes, events are happening, but without any context or meaning behind the characters' actions or their motivation, it ends up being just a showreel for the people who took part in making it. It's the equivalent of watching RoboCop when he first goes out on patrol. Sure, it's cool and fun, but without establishing Murphy's story, OCP, or the Criminals of Detroit, it would just be a dumb action movie scene. A well-made dumb action scene.
Your move, creep.
Tracy Butler is a phenomenal artist. I can't even describe how outstanding her artwork is. The emotions are there, the compositions are brilliant, the details, the lighting, mwah, chef's kiss. This is why it irks me that the writing aspect doesn't hold up. And sure, the animation quality does distract you from the writing. But if you just look at the plot and the dialogue alone, you'd be hard-pressed to distinguish it from Hazbin Hotel. Well, maybe the lack of swearing might give it away. Lackadaisy may have the animation of classic Disney, but it has the writing of modern Disney. But here's the thing, maybe I'm just being overly harsh on a short that has been designed to be a proof of concept. I don't know why you wouldn't have character development or a story arc, but maybe you don't need those things anymore to be noticed online.
Am I so out of touch?
Maybe you do just need a bunch of crazy eccentric characters and wacky hijinks to make it big in the indie world.
No, it's the children who are wrong.
I don't like that idea. If you watch the Lackadaisy mini episodes or even the season 1 teaser, you'll get a completely different tone. It's a subtler approach. It's not trying to be loud and bombastic.
What you doing?
Work.
What kind of work?
They're taking their time establishing the characters and setting up the relationships between them.
What do you need the gun for if you're just adding numbers?
I subtract numbers too.
What does that mean?
Even Rocky finally shuts up and shows a bit of complexity as a lonely, down-on-his-luck character who tries to stay positive and find solace in his music. But to be fair, this Rocky is so different from the pilot that I kind of treat them as two different characters.
That's beautiful music, honey. What else can you play?
Someone who's portrayed as this lonesome character would not have such disregard for the lives of his friends and the well-being of his family.
I got you a souvenir.
In fact, I'm still not convinced why this couldn't be Freckle. This backstory would have fit him much better and would explain why he's so timid and desperate to protect those he cares about. Maybe that's my biggest issue. I can't see any value of Rocky in the show besides maybe being the Jack Sparrow type comic relief. And I don't think Tracy has the guts to put aside her beloved character for a more compelling story. But hey, maybe it's my cope, but I expect episode 1 to surpass the pilot, even if Rocky stays the main character. I love that all these indie animations are giving big studios a run for their money, but I hate that when it comes to writing, they keep stumbling over the same coffee table.
I'm an angsty teen fad, bite me.
But maybe that's why I'm here, and maybe that's why you're here too. And if you appreciate these videos and want to see more of them, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. There's a few goodies in the description if you want to check that out, but aside from that, thank you for watching and I'll see you around.